We're back. Don Clark, Tina Miller, your
Yes.
favorite pair on the air. And,
Yes.
coming up on the holidays, we are very aware that these can not only be happy times, they can be very sad times. If you've lost a loved one, they're not going to be there around the table with you. And so we want to offer some encouraging words. And I think we can do that with a very personal story. For my co-host Tina Miller, because
Yes.
Tina, you've just gone through that. She's been gone several weeks back to the Carolinas. You've noticed, and
Yes.
now you can tell us why.
Yes, Don, if I may, I'd like to read something really quickly before I get into some thoughts and questions. But I took some talking points or some notes, and I titled this Overcoming the Crisis or Situation, Seeing It in a Different Way, or Take It as an Opportunity That Brings Change. Crisis or circumstance or situation, whichever you choose to call it, over which we have no control. And so there are things we do have control, but a crisis or this type of situation we have no control over. But out of the crisis can come good. Foundation, there has to be a foundation for me. And my foundation was hope. And my hope is in the true and living God. And so to me, these are encouraging words. I heard someone else speak that I wholeheartedly agree with, that he is not to be explained, but to be revealed. And then also, not to allow death, in this situation, the death of my grandson, my third grandson.
Stillborn.
Stillborn, or I say born without the breath of life in him, but stillborn, yes. But not to allow this death to claim victory over me. In other words, manage the situation. Don't let the situation manage me. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. And then also to remain steady and steadfast until the season of crisis passes. And the key thing, to outlast the season of the crisis. And so it's how we manage the crisis or what the situation is. That's what matters and counts. So, and then we have to understand, or I don't want to say we have to, I'd be very careful here, but I came to understand that change comes in any life or in any way. A change may come, and the thing to do is to manage the change, not to allow it to disrupt you. So we understand the change, adjust to the change, accommodate the change, and then last, manage it. Now, we can hate it, resist it, or be angry with it, but we can't stop this particular crisis because it's something that we cannot change. And another quick thought, I want to just mention something that I saw on Google this morning. They were wishing a happy 96th birthday to Corita Kent. And Corita says this: to understand is to stand under, which is to look up to, which is a good way to understand. So I have a final thought. I'll say it in the end, but Don, I had to, when I got the news that my third grandson, he was in the womb of my daughter-in-law, and I get the word that my son called and said, "We need a miracle. We need a miracle. There's no movement in her womb." And she was already full term, ready to deliver the baby. And so immediately I start to pray, but I also realize I'm in California. I'm 3,000 miles away, but prayer, there's no time to stop the prayer. But I couldn't be there with them, and so I prayed. But when the word came that they were inducing her, bringing the child forth, he couldn't stay in there. He came several hours later. This all happened within a 24-hour period. And when he did come, to get the call from my son and for him to say, "He's not moving," that was enough to rip me and just make me, words can't even describe that.
I saw it. It crushed you.
Whew, Don. I mean, to get word from your son, two others he has, brought forth, and the life is in them. But this one, and he says, he says, he has arrived. And I said, well, tell me about it. And this was 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, the next morning. And he said, he's not moving. He didn't say he's dead. He just said he's not moving. And then he sent me pictures. He was withholding the pictures, and I said, no, send me the picture, because I can choose to let this drown me, or as I was reading in this, let this crisis just take over and just tear me apart. And what am I going to do with my life then? I realized I have a light in me, just like so many others, that we have to let our light shine. We have to go into the world and let our light shine. So, but on one hand, I'm being pulled from my natural and my flesh side that wanted to just, I wanted to give up and just, what else is there? My grandson is gone. But then I heard a voice of reason, and the voice says, abide and trust. Abide and trust. So I didn't need too much other than that to know what I needed to do. Abide and trust. Abiding, knowing that the true and living God is my Savior, and He's telling me to abide and trust. He must know something better that I don't know. So that's better for me. And so I chose to follow His word, which was abide and trust. And so I did. But I did go back to the grave site. That was just last month. And at the beginning, I was so torn. I was crying, God, oh God. I mean, I was crying out, God. If I could have had my own script, I would have written it and used different words. But as it was, all I could say was, God, oh God, oh God. And then after the people were praying for me, and I felt my strength come on, and at the end of the service, I stood up and I said, may I speak, please? And it kind of shocked everyone, because here's the only one that's crying, and she needs to talk. I did talk, Dawn, and that's what helped me, was open up and speaking about what was going on in my heart.
There had to be a season of great grief, but what you realized was the season will pass.
Yes. Yes,
and
yes.
Here now we enter into a Thanksgiving season.
Yes, oh yes. And we have to manage this change or this crisis that's coming in. Don't let it manage us. So
wonderful.
I hope
words.
that helps you.
And those talking points, Tina, are chapter headings for a book. You should expand on this.
Thank you so
Folks,
much for joining us.
Yes, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We just are so glad you're
Yes.
part of this. We'll see you after Thanksgiving.
Yes, thank you.